Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel today, and we are here with another speed build. Today's build is a tiny home tier 2. I'm using only the base game and then tiny living pack. I think this build in total comes out to be about 60 tiles. I think originally I was going for a micro home, but I just feel like you can't squeeze everything you need for a home into 32 tiles, especially if you want a couple to live there. So this build ends up using the Murphy bed from the Tiny Living Kit. So you could have 2 Sims, or you could just do it as a single Sims home. Either way, we decided to do a more modern take. Lots of blacks and white and wood tones. Lots of outdoor space, and even a little nook on the top of the roof to hang out a little bit. Our tiny home is built on a 20 by 15 lot called Comfy Cubby, which is in Newcrest. I like building in Newcrest. I think it has pretty good lighting when you're building during the afternoon, although it gets a little bit weird in the morning or at night. But since we were focusing a lot on sort of like outdoor space, as it is a tiny home, I definitely wanted to see what it was going to look like in sort of all points during the day. But all in all, this tiny home is coming together pretty quickly. I had a sort of vision in mind before I even started, some sort of inspiration, if you will, of a picture that I saw on Pinterest when I was scrolling, so I decided to go ahead and get building. I had some issues with some clipping of the roof with this little tiny loft area I was building, and I was trying to figure that out. Later on, you'll see I finally figured out that it was just I used a thicker trim on the roof, and once I changed that trim, it was no longer clipping through, but I was really fiddling with this for a while before I figured it out, and even tried to use some buy items to cover it up. But after I finished the layout of the exterior and picked out some different wallpapers that I liked, we went ahead and placed some windows and also a ladder to get up to the loft area. And then we're going to start working on the layout of the outside and some landscaping. I started by fencing in our space. I think finding a fence using base game is pretty difficult, especially for the modern sense. All of the fences sort of match the staircase railings, which is great that they all have matching sets, but I think you pretty much are only left with this sort of like glass privacy, not so private fence in order to enclose a backyard. I think all of the more modern fences honestly have glass inserts, which is kind of crappy. I guess technically the mission fence wouldn't have looked too bad, but it didn't have the wood tone that I was looking for, so I ended up mixing it with the hedges, and I ended up liking that. But after I got the general layout of the outside, I went inside and just sort of figured out a base layout using just the cheap stuff, just so I could see where things were, make sure I didn't need to tweak any windows or walls or anything like that before I got building and decorating more on the outside. After that bare bones layout, I went back outside and started on the true landscaping of the yard by adding the greenery, the curb appeal, if you will. I added some evergreen trees in some different shapes and sizes. I don't use any mods in my game, so I sometimes have a difficult time with bb.move objects and foundations. They just, if you get them too close and you're sizing down, it sometimes tries to go up that height, and you can't really always move them back down. But I figure it out for the most part, and I'm using a lot of, I guess, more of a neutral color scheme for the flower beds as well. I do a little bit of orange and purple just to sort of tie in what's going on in Newcrest. They have those flowers that are purple and yellow around it, and I thought the orange looked nice with that, but I didn't want to go too crazy with the colors as the house has a pretty neutral color palette. I think landscaping is probably one of the best and worst things in a build. It can be a little bit daunting to figure out things that look good and sort of natural, if you will, not too manicured, because let's be honest, that's not realistic to what would be happening in real life. But at the same time, when you're sort of using the same style of plants and the same swatches, you can sort of transform a lot and space very quickly because you're using the same things over and over again, and just really it makes a house come together. I already feel like this looks like a totally different house, and all I did was throw in some landscaping and a car. A debug car, that is, because again, we still don't have cars in The Sims 4. I don't think that's ever going to happen. That's just a whole another level of gameplay and animations that I don't think we'll see, especially now that, so much work is being done on Project Renee. I do appreciate all the effort that, The Sims 4 being made to sort of make it better, with the delivery drops that we keep getting, so those free updates, and then also just the guarantee that we're still getting some new packs and other things. In fact, we just got 2 new kits yesterday, 2 days ago, the Pastel Pop Kit and the Everyday Clutter Kit, which I have already purchased and downloaded, and I am very excited to get using. But at this point, the exterior is pretty much done. I ended up swapping out the roof line for the little awning instead because it looked a little bit more modern and not as structural. And I am now working on the wallpaper for the interior, starting with the kitchen and bathroom. Since I already had, figured out the base layout for the kitchen before, I think the interior came together pretty quickly, especially considering it's a tiny home. There's only so many things that we can put in here. And honestly, even if the home was bigger, base game doesn't have a lot of activities, with the exception of like something to build your logic skill or your creativity skill. So, I mean, really, there's only so many things you can put in here. But I wanted to maximize storage where I could, so I tried to include lots of cabinets, wardrobe. Obviously, the Murphy bed itself appears to be a storage area, although we all know there is a bed hiding behind it. And I carried the neutral tones and the wood into the interior as well. I think I like building tiny homes because I always sort of bounce around when I'm building when I find like objects that would look good in other places. So tiny homes are cool because everything is sort of right next to each other so that you can bounce around with your objects and clutter and place them where you want to and come back to them so you don't forget them, because I am the queen of forgetting. I will see an object when I am searching for something else, and then I'm like, oh wow, I should really use that when I build blah 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 room. And then I get to that point where I'm building in that room and I don't use it. And then here I am at the end of it. And in this case, it's while I'm recording over or posting a video online, and I'm like, well, darn, we lost our opportunity there. But enough about Forgetful Haley. Let's go back to what we are building. So the living space is pretty small, and the bedroom and living room is sort of combined. I think if I had used the, two-person scoot method for the double bed, I probably could have closed off this space, or if I made another little pop out somewhere, but I really wanted to use this Murphy bed, as I think it's kind of like the showcase of the tiny living kit. Although Death by Murphy bed is not a cool thing, and if you didn't know, now you know. Your Sims can die from this thing. I think I remember when this kit first came out, my Sim opened it and immediate dead. Grim Reaper arrived and I was not prepared. Don't think I saved. Had to completely restart. Whole 9 yards. And it was a good thing we hadn't gotten too far into it. But the interior is almost done. Like I said, it's not a lot of space. So we just make sure we include a bookshelf, which is this stack of books right here that doubles up. I'm very glad that they added that to the base game. Oh, I'm sorry, that one's from Tiny Living actually, but we do have a book set from base game that doubles as well. And I add some more clutter on the inside, curtains, rugs, and then I go outside, add a little gardening area under the trellis, which I thought looked so cute. And then I included a laptop, made sure there was a TV, and also the Lindsay smart speaker, which again was another base game update that we got. And that is it for the living space. I go back and I very quickly decorate the bathroom using some of the items from Tiny Living. That modern sink and vanity combo is one of my favorites. I think I use it in pretty much all of my builds when I am not limiting packs. But after the inside is finished, I go back out and add some more patio decorations and decorate that loft space a little bit more. I wanted more of an entertaining area outside since the inside is kind of small. So I included a big couch up top. There's also a telescope so they can work on their logic skill. Here is me trying to hide that trim work before I realized that it was just the trim and got rid of it. And then down below I put a 4-seater patio table and include a grill for grilling out by the pool, as well as some lounge chairs, and that pretty much finishes up the build. Here I was wondering what on earth else I was going to talk about during this video, but here we are, almost at the screenshots. This is pretty much it for the build. I add a few extra clutter pieces here and there, but we are finito. If you like this build, you can download it online. My gallery ID is hailsims, so like and subscribe this video if you want to see more, or let me know what you think of my build in the comments below or on the gallery. And I hope to see you guys again soon for another speed build. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the screenshots here at the end. Bye!